Dan Leach back here in beautiful New York City at Benzinga's Fintech FODA conference, having a great time and about to get better as we're joined by Reba Beeson, legal counselor for AlphaPoint. Great to see you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Fun event, isn't it? We were having a good time here.
I'm having a wonderful time. This is a great conference.
Now, I think something that's so important that you're involved in is really looking at where we're at in this industry, in this space, in this moment in time, and doing something that really is productive. Isn't that kind of where we're
Absolutely. Something that has meaning to what we're doing, so that we're not just doing it based upon an interest we might have or some sort of pet project, but that there's a real benefit, a real use case, and then building from that so that we can build out an infrastructure that really gets to what we call the heart of commerce on a global basis.
What do you think is so important right now? As you mentioned, something of meaning. Not that there's other things that are going on that don't have meaning, but I think it's so important to have a focus on stuff that makes sense, that will help the industry grow, that will help move things forward and bring in the most amount of people that can be involved. What is your feeling on that?
I totally agree. I think it has to start from sound policy, because it is sound policy that informs law and regulation, and then implementation. And then those of us who are gathered today, for the most part, are ones who participate in that whole ecosystem of implementing whatever has been devised by the policymakers. And so, in the context of digital assets, we take our, what would you call it, our view on R&D and building out new products and services based upon what fits within the policy framework, but most importantly, what also fits within the needs of the retail and institutional market, and making sure that the use cases match what we're building, which in turn matches what the policy is dictating.
Now, it's beautifully said. And listen, Reba, you're an extremely passionate person. You exude that. I have a lot of respect for that. Where did that come from? I mean, where did this just incredible energy you have for doing good in this space come from?
Well, I have a whole career based upon what I call Wall Street background, which is in both law and in capital markets, banking. And in that context, I've seen the whole plethora of activity in the capital markets, spanning from the institutional investors, sovereigns, and then the whole way through to the mainstream. And I've traveled around the world, and I traveled to Latin America 30 years ago, starting 30 years ago, when I was helping to develop markets, financial markets, for those who were not banked. So we still are faced with that today.
Right.
And I've seen how adding just a little bit of a product or a service to help facilitate merchants on a local basis can help build out their entire community and make it more profitable, more sustainable. And it was from that I've really been informed on how to think about digital assets and what we can do in that vein. And for example, AlphaPoint helped facilitate the implementation of the Chivo wallet by the government of El Salvador. And I've been there. I've seen firsthand how that's been embraced by the merchants, by the users in El Salvador.
Game-changing stuff. It really is. If I can kindly ask you, because you obviously have such a wealth of knowledge, to put on that, take the Doc Brown time machine, the future cap, whatever you want, and spin it forward 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Where do you see things going, and how do you want AlphaPoint to be involved in that?
Well, there's definitely going to be a mass adoption of digital assets and the use of DLT, blockchain, but more broadly, distributed ledger technology on a global basis. It's going to be built slowly, and it's going to be iterative. And there'll be bumps along the way. Because if we go back to policy, different jurisdictions have different policies, and they're not seamlessly integrated. And so we really have to start at the grassroots, pick where, I guess you would say, the low-hanging fruit is on what we can do, how we can implement, how we can show that use cases are actually helping communities. And then from that, maybe have that information feed into policies on a more expansive basis. But doing that and then integrating among ourselves with all the different products and services and different platforms in and of itself is a humongous undertaking and will
Sure
take,
is.
I don't know, at least 20 years, probably more.
Well, Reba Beeson, the legal counsel at AlphaPoint, it was so wonderful talking with you. Keep doing the amazing work, and a true pleasure to discuss things with you.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure and honor all mine.